Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Alchemizing Energy, and we have a special guest here today, Dr. Umar L. Bey, and we are going to be discussing the pyramids in America. So I just hope that you guys are ready for today's show because, there's been a lot of people talking about this subject. It's been the Mound people have been getting brought up a lot in conversation. So rather than continue just to have the conversation and not really and just keep letting it go forward, we're going to actually talk to Brother Umar, who is a part of the Washita Nation, and he is going to teach us about the Mound people. Without further ado, welcome to the show,
Thank
Brother
you,
Umar.
Brother
Umar Bey. Hotep.
Here. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. Looking forward to any questions, any inquiries.
So before we start, I just want to get an idea. Who is Brother Umar Bey? Let's let's really get an idea of who are you and why are you the authority when it comes to the empire of the Washita?
Okay, so from the perspective of the Washita Nation, Imperial Washita Nation, the Empire of Washita that dug the mountain there. First of all, by blood, my family is Washita, and that we come from the land of the Washita, the land known as Washita. You talk about your nationality. If you're from Germany, you're German, and Japan, Japanese. Washita are from Washita. And anybody can get a map and see it written down on the planet, been there from the beginning of the time, and it's there now. You have the Washita Rivers, 2 Washita Rivers, and in the middle of those, you have something called the Washita Forest and the Washita Mountains, and they call it the natural state, the Native American state, but it's right there between Arkansas and Oklahoma and Louisiana, the whole area. And actually, the whole Mississippi River Valley is part of the Washita, because the Washita actually begins in the Mississippi River. So the Washita is all the lands washed by the Mississippi River. And my family traced our roots back to the Washita. Now, on a more, I guess, greater context, within the Washita Nation, beyond the land is called the Washita. My family traced our roots back there. There's a lady called the Empress of the Washita, Her Royal Highness Verity Terra Washita Turner Goldston L. Bay, who did her research, her family also. And she had established a political entity for the Imperial Washita Nation. Okay, the Imperial Washita Nation was born in 1995, and we were there maybe a couple of years before we were taken over. So the Empire of Washita is very complicated. This could take years to explain to you. Understand, I worked directly with the Empress of the Washita in 1995. I went there, and there were many different people working with her. One was Judge Clint D. Nelson Bay, who helped her publish her book and get it going. I helped distribute her book also. But Clint D. Nelson Bay was the judge for the Washita Nation when I met her back in 92, 93, 94 in Washita. And Clint D. Nelson Bay left there in 1995. And she asked me to become the judge and her administrator in 1995. And then after a while, I accepted the task, and I moved there. But when in 1995, remember the winter of 95, October 95, she asked me to become the judge because Clint had to go home, take care of his family. And I said, only if we get to go to the United Nations and claim our sovereignty and our nationality, right? And that began the process of writing to the International Court of Justice. And so I became, within the Washita Nation, the imperial judge, and I was what was called the administrator, because we had several ministries in the Washita, and my job was to be the proxy for those ministers who could not attend meetings and tribal gatherings and tribunals. So I was the proxy. If you were the Minister of Agriculture or the Minister of Education, I would be proxy for them at meetings, because I represented the people. So if you hear my speech that I gave in '96 at the United Nations in Geneva, I represent the people of the Imperial Washita Nation.
What does this have anything to do with the Louisiana Purchase, the Ouachita?
Well, Louisiana Purchase did not include the Ouachita. The whole point, if you go read the Empress's book, the Empress had a book called Return of the Ancient Ones. You can probably pull it up somewhere. Famous book she wrote, and then it's full of documentation that thoroughly proves that the Louisiana Purchase, first of all, if you just read the treaty convention between France and the United States, it clearly states that the Louisiana Purchase only included the streets of New Orleans, the Jackson Barracks, and a few things down there. Okay, it did not include everything else. If you understand, I live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana was not included in the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. At that point, yeah, there you go. Oh, that's the book there. Her Highness, the Empress of the Ouachita de Mounds Empire, Empress Versi Terra, Ouachita and Ghost in El Bay. That book is awesome. That book is full of documentation that clearly is uncontested in terms of her successfully identifying her family lineage and right to land. In that book, and the documentation there shows how she went through the process of having the state of Louisiana recognize her family's right to 68,883 acres of land in Louisiana, but that was only the part of the land that was under the grant. The rest of the land belonged to the tribes also. But there's certainly a part of the Ouachita right there in the Ouachita parish, right there where the Empress has her township, and there's a history there of a land grant, a Spanish land grant being granted during the time of the French Revolution. And understand at that point, the Spanish held most of Louisiana. The Spanish held New Orleans, and the Spanish held all the way up towards Monroe, and then to I guess Arkansas, lower Arkansas area, and over into Florida and into Texas. The Spanish had significant colonial holdings, and one of the areas was in the Monroe, Louisiana area called the Ouachita. Today, the Ouachita River is, and in that same parish, you have the Ouachita tribe, the Empress roots. You have the last evidence on the oldest pyramid sites, or what they call earthen mound site in America. They call it lunar mounds or Watson Break. So in this area of the Ouachita parish that exists right now today, you had the Empress of the Ouachita establish the fact that there was a nation of people here, the Ouachita people, and we had the right of sovereignty, and just like other Native American tribes. But the Empress was not looking to be recognized under the Department of Interior, the Indian Bureau. We were labeled as an unrecognized nation. I mean, they literally had us arrested saying, we don't recognize you guys anymore. You know, we owe you money. Anyway, so it's a long, complicated story, but the Ouachita Nation was one of the first indigenous nations to go to the United Nations. And when we traveled to the United Nations, Geneva, we had our own passports. We had legally had everything done. The Empress herself was a statesman, you would say, but she's a statesperson. Even before 1992, when she began to rule over the Imperial Ouachita Nation, she worked in Washington, D.C., with the Nixon administration. She worked with the former governor, McKitchen of Louisiana, back in the 1970s. And in 1974, she formed her own township, political township, and called Richwood, right near the ancient mounds, the 6,000-year-old mounds. And because that's where her family came from, Richwood, Louisiana. It's still there now. I think it's been incorporated into the city of Monroe. But the Ouachita Nation was an entity that was recognized for a short while. And of course, we got overrun and hijacked, ironically, by the same people who hijacked Washington, D.C. right now. The same patriot movement, white Christian people are the people who came in, and the Empress trusted, and they betrayed her. So it's a
so they owned. So the Ouachita Nation owned Washington, D.C. So that would make sense.
Well, no, Ouachita Parish in the state of Louisiana.
Parish.
Ouachita Parish.
So Louisiana owned D.C. Ouachita Parish owned that land in D.C.
In Washington, D.C. is over in Virginia and Maryland area. We're not talking about that location. I mean, that's the name is called Washington, D.C. because they labeled it that. But the whole origin of the name Washington and District of Columbus, okay, not Columbia, is a whole other conversation we can have. So I have a whole book to explain to you. The name Washington didn't come from England. In English, it's something called Washington. Ouachita is an indigenous name, come from right here. The word mound is an indigenous name. I made a video called Pyramids in America years ago, and I clearly taught everyone what they need to know. I am a teacher. I have my own school. So in that video, I'm breaking down the dictionary, explaining to you all kinds of things, the origin of Ouachita. So maybe we should get a copy of Pyramids in America video. But we go there also. But simply put, back to the Washita. The Empress of the Washita. Why am I expert on the Washita Nation? Because I myself agreed to work the Empress, was appointed judge, administrator. I helped her facilitate trips to Geneva, Switzerland, where we attended meetings at the United Nations Peace Palace near Geneva. And I was able to speak on the floor of the United Nations several times, as well as I was able to work with other indigenous nations from around the world to help verbalize and do the wording for the Universal Declaration of Rights for Indigenous People. They already had a Universal Declaration of Rights, a UN Declaration of Rights that was issued back in the 1940s when they formed the United Nations. But in 1995, 96, 97, I was in Geneva, and we're going and we just elaborate more and debate on the wording for the Declaration of Rights for Indigenous people specifically. And one of the main things I focused on was getting in there the rights and nationality as a Moorish people, as indigenous people, and the right to self-determination. Because I believe in Kwanzaa and all the principles of Kwanzaa. So self-determination, Kujichagulia, is a very important concept to me. So two elements that I helped to get into the Declaration of Rights for Indigenous People, the concept of self-determination for Indigenous people, and the right to have your own nationality. And even as we speak now, the world is in an uproar. People are being deported, and the nationality is condemning them now. And to the point where at the beginning of this crazy political period, they were trying to deport Native American people, if you recall that news.
Yeah.
Native Navajos. So the whole concept of your nationality, your status, your rights is very crucial, and our people are not aware of that. And the Washita Nation was able to go out and establish the fact that we had our own nation. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the documentation on my website, I show how the United Nations, in their final list of attendees at the meetings we had there, they listed the Imperial Washita Nation as the oldest indigenous people on Earth. Okay, we submitted a lot of information to them dating our existence. You have physical evidence, scientific evidence, geological evidence of people being here 10,000 years ago. So it kind of breaks the curve of many I guess timetables and chronology they have with different religions and different belief systems around the world. There's clear evidence in Louisiana, right here in Baton Rouge, of people being here 10,000 years ago, building houses here in Baton Rouge, a site here near Southern University in Baton Rouge called Montesano. Montesano is a region where they found evidence of buildings with post holes and earthen pyramid mounds right here in Baton Rouge.
Well, I wanted to also invite to the stage Laurel Burns. He is he does a presentation. He talks about the mounds and the mound people in St. Louis. I think you said, Laurel. Welcome to the show tonight. Welcome.
Peace. Yeah, I'm here. I'm in New Cackarack, Rube. You know what I'm saying? I'm stationed here in Upper Mississippi territory. Y'all know it as Mound City, St. Louis. Y'all know it as St. Louis. Yeah. We here, right next door to Cahokia Mounds and whatnot. And we've uncovered a lot of interesting facts when it comes to our people being here. Uh, I don't even try to go as far as going back 10,000 years, because going back just 300-400 years is enough. Going back 500 years is enough. Uh, Regardless if we've been on this landmass or not, we're unique. You can't find our type of people anywhere else on this planet. You know what I'm saying? We're unique. We belong in the Americas. You see what I'm saying? So when you start looking at our history, you see that we already have maroon settlements and nations all throughout North America, Southeast United States, all in Canada, all in the Caribbeans. We've always had maroon communities that have went against the colonial powers. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a shame that they've made us forget. They use psychological warfare to make us forget that we were always a nation here way before there was ever a United States. Before there was ever a United States, there were maroon communities that had been trading with Native Americans for hundreds of years. You see what I'm saying? So And we've been intermarrying and doing those type of things for hundreds of years before they even signed the Declaration of Independence. So it's on us to stand up and make them recognize us as a nation.
Here's a question. So are the ones in St. Louis and Mississippi, are those always also considered Washita, or is that like a different group?
Well,
Okay, go ahead, brother.
they're indigenous Mounds.
Oh, and hold on. Someone is asking, are you guys Hebrew? Would you guys consider yourself to be Hebrew Israelite or Hebrew? That's a question from the audience.
No, I don't. I identify with being a Cushite, Western Cushite, West African. I don't identify with being Hebrew or any Abrahamic mythology or anything like that. I don't subscribe to that.
So okay. I'm sorry I had to interrupt that because he kept asking the question. So, but what were you saying about like the difference between Dr. I'm sorry, Brother Umar Bey. What do you know about the difference between the St. Louis? Is there a different group, or is this all the same group?
Well, the Koki is about 900 AD, 900 AD, and maybe before 100 AD. A time frame. And Koki is awesome. He's about that Koki all over that area, even over in the Missouri, in Illinois. They have all kind of areas full of mounds. And I think it's Vincennes, Missouri. That's a location over there near you. Hundreds of mound sites over there, pyramids. When the Mormons came through on their way out to Utah, they stopped in the area near the mounds because the Mormons traced their roots back to mounds. So there are all kind of mounds in the area. There's also this place called Russell's Cave, the evidence of our people there before. So the only difference between the pyramids, the mounds in Missouri, Illinois, and the ones out here is the age. It's still the same culture, and over thousands of years they evolved. You still have a culture of people building mounds that are scientific, not just some piles of dirt, but they may line up with the constellations, they line up with the cardinal points, they line up with the seasons. So you have people, scientists, engineers constructing sites all over what's known as North America, Illinois, and all the way up to Minnesota, out in California, Florida, New York. The whole nation is covered with a culture of people who built mounds. So the ones in Illinois are also next to the ones in Colorado, the ones in Michigan. You'll find evidence in Louisiana. You find evidence in Louisiana of stones from Michigan, stuff from Colorado, stuff in Ohio. You might find evidence coming from Missouri, coming from Oklahoma. So you will find that these mound sites have evidence of trade and cross connections throughout the country. The ones in Oklahoma have evidence of pearls and diamonds. They actually found in what they call the spiral mounds in Oklahoma, they found evidence of coins, Egyptian coins, and Viking ruins, all kind of. So the history we have of America being this wilderness that somebody discovered, walked over across the Bering Straits, or came across with Columbus, it's just a myth. It's a legend. The fact is, based on evidence that you can easily, I can share with you, that we have been here forever. You asked the question about giants. There's so many records of skeletons and remains of giants being dug up. We could find them. So when people say it's not true, it's a hoax. Understand, we live in a world today where everything is questionable. Everything is suspect. It's very hard to validate too much stuff because of this computer-generated imaging and other ways people can alter images. So, and to be quite blunt, to me, we live in a society where you have a double standard. You have one standard of this empirical, factual stuff you can verify. Another standard called white power and white control. So that's the reality to me. You try to define stuff in America, it's a matter of context. And one context that people are trapped in is to believe the white power's definition of different concepts and terms. So when it comes to the Washita, we don't exist anymore. Okay, they cannot recognize us.
So
okay?
Here's the question. Here's a question. Now look at this map, you guys. These are all of the pyramids throughout America.
Some of them.
Some of them. So that's not even all of them, huh? There's still more.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is crazy to think that this is hitting all over like this, and people just are clueless. Do you think there's a cover? Because when I actually did the research into the giants, right, it said something along the lines of the Smithsonian they negate that there's anything going on in the Grand Canyon when it comes down to the structures found in the Grand Canyon. They negate the existence of giants. They say they're both mythological things. So, and then when you actually talk about some of the things that you're talking about, when you do the research, I'm not sure whether they have something that goes out and puts out this information and AI grabs it. But most of the time, when you actually find from a search engine, it will say that this is all myth. What are your thoughts? Well, I would like both of y'all to speak about that.
Well,
Doing it.
specifically, when I'm gonna speak about the Grand Canyon one because I might not be as familiar with the other ones. I have a problem with what they found or what they claim that they found in it because what I know about traditional rulership, especially when it comes to the Nile Valley, because of my close association with the House of Kush, uh, kings and rulers do not put images of other rulers in their tombs, right? That bust that they keep showing you is Akhenaten. That's from the 18th dynasty. You understand what I'm saying? So for that particular bust to be in there, that means that they would have to either be cults of Akhenaten, or it would have to be somebody from the dynastic order of Akhenaten. You understand what I'm saying? And it's like that the stuff don't match up. Like you would never find you would never find another another likeness of somebody else in their grave like that. You know what I'm saying? Like so, it's funerary rituals that go along with with those type of things, and those things haven't changed in millennia. They haven't changed in millennia. So it's like I don't know. Like I question them. Um, for it to be a Buddhist temple and a Nile Valley temple in there at the same time. You know what I mean? It's just I don't know. So yeah, I kind of chunked that one up to it's suit up.
Okay, okay,
All
brother.
right.
How old are you? How old are you, brother? Because have you ever been to Arizona yourself and done any research?
Laurel.
Hello.
Yeah, well, excuse what you say?
So I don't understand. You're saying you doubt the possibility of it being.
Well, I don't doubt the possibility. I doubt
Mhm.
that those artifacts being from the Akhenaten dynasty, and I doubt if those artifacts were ever found in that area.
Okay, so just I only speak fact, brother. I went to
Yeah, yeah.
Arizona.
We could pull up the images of the relics that they claim to
Brother,
find in there.
whatever image you're talking about are in the past 5, 10, 15 years. 30 years ago, I was in Arizona with white guys who were in the Grand Canyon. Okay, I was there with the guys. I saw the stuff in their houses, in there. I seen the artifacts.
But that was back in like
I,
1900s,
I'm just
bro. You would have
okay.
to be
So
100 years
those
old.
guys, I'm not fussing with you, brother. The stuff is still there as we speak. These gentlemen went in there after World War II. They had Navy craft. They went down there. That's all. So we don't have to debate now, but I will share with you the recordings I have. Talk about these gentlemen, their wives, their kids, saw their collections. So I don't want to debate with you. I'm just telling you, you haven't not been exposed to more evidence. That's all.
I'm sorry.
More research.
You have like a background. I think you might be driving, Laurel. That's probably so. When you're talking, speak and then
I'm,
take it off mute. And when you're not talking, put it off because the wind from your car is blowing.
okay. So
Adjust
brother,
the
so
camera,
I'm
brother
not going to
Bay.
debate with you. I'll share with you information I have.
Okay.
I went out to Arizona for several years. I went all through the state. I went up and down and found other stuff, other evidence of our existence out there. So I'm sure you haven't seen it yet. What I have is out on the internet. You're not going to find it on the internet. I mean, I'm talking about 1980, 1990 research I did out in Arizona, in the desert, Ajo, Arizona, going up to the Supai tribe, have a Supai, and speaking to different elders and just a lot of other people who've already done the research. But also, I found the grave robbers, the guys who went into the Grand Canyon, stole the stuff, had to deal with. They did, I mean, actually, somebody died up there, so I know a lot of details I don't want to go over now. But whenever you want to get the evidence, come see me. I will share it with you. I have audios. I will sit in the audience interviewing people. They don't always recording them, talking about what they found. These rich European guys who did it. They went there. So if you want the evidence, I can share with you. I know their family, I know their kids. I know where the stuff is stored right now. I know what got burnt up and blew up. But I have what was found in the Grand Canyon. It's not like it's not real. It's just there's no proof to other people unless you were there. Unless you were there.
So were they grave sites, or was it like an actual town or city, or what exactly was it?
Giant cities underground. He showed me images of he said Umar, they're a room full of men, mummified, no women, all mummified men, mummified birds. This white powder. These guys were dealing with gold. They were not just. I mean, the stuff they found, they sold to senators. Like Senator Byrd in West Virginia bought a lot of artifacts, and so I'm just saying these are the same gentlemen who helped. Wow, we're talking about the 1940s, 1950s. These guys were part of create Las Vegas. Okay, that's what they talk about. How they sold stuff to mobsters in Las Vegas back in the 50s, and oh my God. So I just have evidence you might want to look at before you just write it all off, because empirical evidence will always outdo this white supremacy denial of our existence. When I was teaching and I would go to conferences on history, they would say, Brother Umar, we agreed to, they agreed to not accept anything I've written. There'll be a history a conference, they will make an agreement. Okay, Brother Umar, your stuff is very compelling. We agreed not to believe any of it. Like, really? Y'all can do that? You can vote me off the planet? But so when you talk about publicly available information, the Smithsonian Institute is famous for covering up stuff.
Why do you think the Smithsonian Institute has had like such a big hand in covering up this information, or even just because even when you look it up online, it'll go right to the Smithsonian. Like, they are the authority on what exists and what does not exist as far as artifacts. Why is it that they are the ones that can like make whether or not something is true or not? Why are they the authority?
Because they're the only ones with
I'm sorry, you broke up. Say it again, Laurel.
It's that's all political. The Smithsonian is political. You know what I'm saying? So museums are political. Anything that like teach you history, all of that stuff is political. To give you a narrative. You see what I'm saying? So unless you have your own institutions, privately funded institutions, you will never ever know the truth. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reason why the Smithsonian has a monopoly on it, is because no one else is going to put the money up.
So what about the African American Museum? How come we don't have?
What about them? They don't do what the Smithsonian do. They just keep old nigga shit. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cuss.
Have you ever seen my museum?
No.
Okay, well, I fund my own museum. I fund my own school. I fund my own stuff. So go check my museum out, brother. It's on my website.
Your museum is on your website? Where's the physical building?
Fine. One is the location in Hammond, Louisiana. It's called the African American Heritage Museum. I have displays in there on the ancient ones.
Where did you say the physical building is?
Yes, sir. You can go on our website. Go to my website, check it out. Called the blackinventionmuseum.org.
I said, where's the physical museum at?
It's in a place called 1,600 feet square in Hammond, Louisiana. But you can find an address on my website. There's like a map page on there.
Okay.
You can look at. But it's actually called Tangipahoa, which is an indigenous name. The Tangipahoa African American Heritage Museum and Veterans Archive. It's in a place called Hammond, Louisiana. We actually had brother, that building is a former elementary school. There used to be the all-black school in that area, and they're going to tear it down. And we put together a committee to raise money and put a roof on the thing. And we bought it from the city, and we turned that school into a museum. And we use it as a community center. We have weddings there in the cafeteria. We have concerts there in the auditorium. So we, as a community, bought that school that our grandparents went to, and they know for generations, and we restored it into a museum. Okay, and in the museum,
wow, that's awesome.
That's amazing.
Wow. Wow.
So
Why don't we
now
hear
say
more about this?
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm
it's a black
my
thing. It's a
dude.
black thing.
That's
It's
some
not it's
shit to congratulate and award.
Sister,
Wow,
you go to
brother,
my
we need to
website.
hear more about you.
Yeah.
Where have you been? Where have you been?
So
Why?
if you go look at hotep.org and click on the Black Invention Museum link, it'll take you right to my website. And on there, I have pictures of the museum display with the black inventions as well as with the pyramids in America, as well as with the ancient ones, talking about our ancient ancestors. So you'll see my display on the website, but you can actually go there physically in person and see the pictures up close and read information because I'm very, yeah, there you go. All right. So let me see where you can go here. So go scroll up a little bit. Let me scroll down. See that tangible whole African American Heritage Museum, the Veterans Archive. Here's a map to how to get to it. Okay. Here I am. This is my Black Inventions display here. And then you keep going down, you're gonna see. Look at see what they say there. Our story is much more than a month. Every day, everyone in each nation, every nation will use something invented by African, Asiatic Moor, Indigenous Moor, Native American, African American, and many other people of color. The original mothers and fathers of humankind and civilization, aka so-called black folks, originally of the Nile Valley. Okay, what we use every day come from us. Okay. going down some more. No. Go to the website hotep.org. Go to hotep.org website. I'm gonna show you those are things we invented. We invented the two-cycle engine. We invented hot shock absorbers for the robot arms. Okay, street sweepers, so all kind of stuff. So this museum I have over 100 of collections. So I go to Jamaica, I go around the world, and I teach kids all over the world about being engineers. I teach. I'm just trying to share. So this is the pyramid. This is my museum website here. I see this book here. I had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar write this book. See this book here? What color is my world? That's Jabbar, Kareem, my hero, the real GOAT. All right. Kareem is a real basketball GOAT, not the NBA GOAT, but all of that. Anyway, keep on. So here's a poster, the map I make. See this poster here? I took the time, had all these inventions, got the correct spelling for every inventor's name, the patent number, and the actual date they were examined and approved. So here you have a list of over 100 things that we invented that people all over the world use every day. That's one thing that was like 20, 30 years ago I did that. So my museums, even today I still travel to museums. So I want to go and show you the other museums. So go to where it said, let me see, supporting museums. No. Go to, you have to go back to my other website. Go to hotep.org website. Okay, so scroll down here. You can see a picture of the museum with the pyramids in America. See this? So here, see this picture right here? This is the exhibit hall I have there. On one side, you have exhibits of the pyramids in America, and especially the pyramids in Louisiana. The other side, you see the origin of the Black Mardi Gras Indians, the Washita. So that is one of the exhibits at the museum we have down in Hammond. So we have a museum. So I know you're saying other museums are full of crap, Negro stuff, all slave crap. I can't stand museums full of slave stuff. Please forgive me. But my museum don't have that. I'm bringing the facts. That's why you don't hear about our stuff. Okay, but we built we recovered our own building. There's another museum, Monroe, in Washita Parish. I wish people help me redesign it because it has a bunch of slave stuff in there. It needs to be restored with stuff dealing with the indigenous culture.
Yeah,
And you can
like the I'm not interested in the slave stuff unless it's dealing with the maroon free people, the people who was revolting. You know what I'm saying? Because this is one thing that I keep trying to explain to people. We are the remnants of the ones who revolted. That's who we are. All of us come from down south. All of us are blood descendants of people who come from those maroon communities. You know what
the
I'm saying?
people in the
And we
the
uh,
people in the wilderness, right? It's the people who survived in the wilderness. We broke up. We survived in the
yeah,
wilderness.
yeah, yeah. And we was doing our own thing. We had our own communities and whatnot. And when they after the Civil War, when they started integration, when they started including niggas into the United States. You know what I'm saying? Prior to that, you was property. You was considered chattel property. You wasn't considered a man. You was like 3/5 of a man. You feel what I'm saying? So you wasn't really considered property. But those who revolted ended up in like maroon communities where we built our own stuff. We had our own we had our own trade routes. We had on economy. Bro, we had hundreds, if not thousands, of farms and ranches and mills, and I mean, like, we had a lot of stuff. And they
You're
took.
right.
Huh?
Go ahead.
No, and I was just saying they took it from us, using psychological warfare and guerrilla warfare tactics. As soon as they created the Emancipation Proclamation, they created the Klan right after that to deal with the maroon problem.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like, to deal with that maroon problem. The fact that quote unquote niggas was thriving. We were thriving.
Well,
We
the
wasn't
Emancipation Proclamation.
supposed to be thriving, and we were.
Yeah. So, bro, you familiar with the Emancipation Proclamation said and why these white patriot groups are so anti-federal government? Because
Yeah,
they
yeah, but
understand.
yeah, because the federal government is the one who did it to them.
Well, the federal government was supposed to defend the so-called Negroes from the white supremacists and the slave masters. That was all about all that Reconstruction. The federal government was after anyway. Go if you read the Emancipation Proclamation and at General Order Number 3, which is a whole other topic again. If you
Yeah,
understand why
yeah,
you have the patriot movement and the white people are against the federal government. Back in the 90s, you had white people who were bombing federal facilities. We had to put barricades around federal buildings because there were the white power, white nationalists, Ku Klux Klan, whatever you want to call them, were against the federal government because the federal government was helping out non-white people. Okay, call it black people, Mexican
yeah.
people.
That's what caused the racial divide in the United States in the first place. Is the fact that they wanted to integrate, which I don't think we should have, or we never should have integrated. We should have just stayed separate but equal. You know what I'm saying? We had our own cities, our own towns, our own inventors. We had our own engineers, scientists, doctors, lawyers. You know what I'm saying? All of that. You know what I'm saying? And there was nothing wrong with that. But when they started integration, we started taking white people jobs, them poor white people jobs, and all that stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? The unions was using black people as alternative workers, and while our workers was on strike, and that made white people galvanize against us. See, us being used as tools, we was just happy to work. You
Well,
see
I
what
get
I'm
that,
saying?
but I know this is a good subject. We have to do that subject another time
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
really want
yeah.
to get
So
back into these pyramids because this is a thing that when people talk about the pyramids that happened in Egypt, from what I understand, these periods was older. Is this correct? These pyramids are older
there's
than.
some periods. Once again, you're talking about the dating system of the Western culture, European dating system. So, but when you look at it, if you compare it, the stuff they found in the United States was as older than what they see in Egypt. Now, the caveat is the date they give to the Sphinx and the pyramid is not correct. They're much older than the date that the Europeans give it. So they don't know. So we're dependent on once again the white power definition and versus the actual empirical dated stuff. There are pyramids down in Mexico. They date to 3,000 years, okay? Yet they have lava flows on them dating to 12,000 years old. How you gonna have 12,000 year old lava flow over a pyramid only 3,000 years old? So once again, it's in context and relative to people trying to have a narrative. As the brother said, they're trying to maintain a narrative. The Smithsonian Institute, if you read Dr. Neely Fuller, I think Dr. Neely Fuller actually worked at the Smithsonian Institute. I think it was a security guard in D.C. And he was actually one of the mentors for Dr. Francis Cress Welding.
That's
Mm.
And he
right.
wrote a book called, his book. So if you go read his book, he simply says that unless you understand things from the perspective of white supremacy, white power, white control, white male domination, call it what you want to call it, you're not going to understand anything. So you talk about stuff, there are two definitions. It's a double standard. It's the real truth. Then you got the white power part that helps them maintain the illusion of being superior when they already know they're inferior. In every manner of the way, going back to just simple biology, genetics, and science, natural history tells you about dominant and recessive gene pool. So understanding of the people who have created a system to maintain control when they're the minority, and we can talk about economics, education, or politics. It all goes back to maintaining white control, white male, manufactured, invented control, and it's about to come to an end. I'm so happy. So when we
So
talk,
this is one of the examples of a mound that was built that was back in. I'm not sure how old this one is, but It's called the Serpent Mound in Ohio. Now, so some of these mounds, I'm imagining probably have, function. I'm not. What would the function of something like this be? Just for decorate? Because I mean, you can't see all this from on the ground. So, what would be the purpose of creating a mound like this, where you can't even see it from on the ground? You know what I'm saying? You only just see that it's, huh?
Let me pose one question. I'm gonna move on and answer a question. What if they were giants? Okay, now look at the tail of this thing. That tail of that thing is a nautilus. Can you put it back up there? The tail of this serpent mound is a nautilus. See that? That is science. That is 1.6 on the scale, like pi is 3.4. This is 5. That's a nautilus. That is showing proportion. Fibonacci number. If you look at the inner body of it, that's a sine wave, 60 cycle hertz, like running through our house electricity. Look at the head of that. Look like a snake swallowing an egg or an ankh. So this image has been studied several times. This actual serpent mound site was the site of a giant lightning strike or meteor strike, some kind of phenomenal strike here. And this site here is owned by the Peabody Museum of Harvard University, even though this is in the middle of Ohio. So Harvard has done extensive research on this site. They own this site to do the research. And Serpent Mound is world famous, and it is actually a scientific phenomenon. The way it's built, these different ridges align with different constellations in the sky, and they also align up with the solstice, the winter, spring, summer, quarterly, solstice, and equinox. So many sites are in alignment with the equinox. You'll find in Minnesota, in Indiana, Mississippi, California. You'll find all these sites that have some scientific significance that shows evidence of them being constructed at some point, I guess, when the stars are up, because they're aligned with different constellations in the sky. So this is one of the many sites you have there. Okay. Oh, here's a great site here. Tuscaloosa, Roll Tide, Alabama. You see that? So this site here is outside Tuscaloosa. The word Tuscaloosa, if you see, is actually the name of a 7-foot, like a giant black chief. This pyramid is on something called the Black Warrior River, and Tuscaloosa is the name of a great black warrior. So Tuscaloosa is Black Warrior, and you have this pyramid along the river. Today, if you can go to Alabama right now, and right going through the city, through Tuscaloosa, or the nearest river to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, is the Black Warrior River. Here, just a little information about that. So Tusca means warrior, and Lusa means black. So this site was supposedly visited by Ferdinand de Soto. De Soto will be the first European to come on the shore and explore the southeast. And de Soto is known to have run into several pyramid cultures, starting with the first one he ran into down in Florida near Tampa, I think called Crystal Lake or Crystal Springs. It's a famous pyramid site down there in Florida. And he went from site to site until he got to the Washita, de Soto. Ferdinand came to the Washita where we killed him. I'm sorry. He was disposed of by the native people, and his people ran. When he got close to the Washita, de Soto got dealt with. So here you have de Soto coming into Alabama. And here it says he's killed thousands of native people. Okay, Soto he was killed. De Soto's men killed 7,000 Indians, including the great chief Tuscaloosa, a 7-foot giant. You can't make that up. Come on.
Okay, let me tell you something. When we talk about like giants, right? And this is what I said, is that if the average human being at that time was the size of like 5'3", 5'2", 5'5" at the most, then a 7-foot tall person would be considered a giant. So, or anything taller than that, and so you say 7 feet. I think that what people are doing they're conflating it like they were like 25,000 feet tall, some kind of crazy amount. But
no. The skulls they found out of the States, I didn't see any more than over 9 feet tall. I mean, 9 foot few inches tall. So there's evidence of them. It's a book called Lost Cities of North and Central America by a man named, what's his name? Let me see. I don't have the book on here.
Can I respond to this?
Go ahead while he looks at the book.
So the problem that I have with believing in giants, are they trying to say like giants was a race of people? And if so,
Go ahead.
And if so, people come with technology. Like clothes, textiles, swords, tools, shit like that, right? And it would seem like if there was a race of people that were giants, I mean, like we humans, right? And we number in the billions right now. You see what I'm saying? So I'm thinking that if there was a race of giants, there would at least be, I don't know, 10,000 or more, maybe more. And if there are giants and they're breeding and they're having sex with each other, right? So why don't we find evidence of big, huge, giant infrastructures of industry that could support big, huge people? You see what I'm saying?
So as he said, a 7-foot giant. So, all right, Shaquille O'Neal is, I think, 6'9" or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, he would be considered a giant in those times.
Nah, that's Shaquille O'Neal is short compared to the people they talking about.
7
Yeah.
feet tall.
So,
Okay, listen. If you read where it
Yeah,
says the king of Tuscaloosa was a 7-foot giant. He's 7 foot tall.
okay,
yeah,
let me
but
see
the
this.
but the skeletons that they found in the Americas of those giants are not 7 feet tall giants.
Okay, here's one
They're
here.
they're,
You
they're,
see
they're, they're way taller than that.
here's a page here. See 9. This says Mound in Ashland County, Ohio, in 1879. 9 foot 8 inch skeleton was excavated from a mound near Burrillville, Indiana. Indianapolis News, November 10th, 1975. This is a newspaper down there. It says 6 foot
9 feet.
skeletons. So you can look source yourself. Here's another source here. It says they're gigantic skeletons found. It says the St. Paul Pioneer Press, May 23rd, 1883. So I like to go to sources. So if I say they existed, how do you know that? Because when they found them, the local newspaper come in and took the story. I don't think they even need to cover anything up. So there are several articles you're going to find if you go back and look through old newspapers around the country. So instead of trying to go find a app or something on internet or some whatever TikTok thing, there's actual written down, published journalistic evidence, and you can still question it also, because if there's one article, I promise you, even like the article in Arizona about the Egyptian city in Arizona, there are several articles before that and after that about that particular thing. In the same way, if you want to go find evidence, let me see what it says here. Let me see what it says here. It says,
But ain't that because they just be running the same story? Different networks be running the same story.
this is 1895, sir. There were no networks. 1895. This is 1885.
I want to also just show this real quick, because the tallest man, and this was back in 1918 at that time, and he passed away in 1940, was 8 feet 11 inches tall, almost 9. Like I would say, one more inch, he'd been 9 feet tall. So it's not far fetched to think that people could have been 9 feet tall.
Let me try to find this. Okay, so bear with me. I'm gonna go into my pictures, photos here. Hold on, photos here.
And probably because of what they were eating or whatever was going on at that time. Your screen is black. Are you trying to show something, or? Okay, right. So he says that they have NBA players that are 8 feet tall. So there are still people
let me do
to this day that are tall, that are of a very high, very big height. So
can you share my screen?
I can't see it. You have to click present and then show what you're trying to show. It'll give you the option to choose.
Yes,
your screen is black, so I don't know if you switched.
Okay, so let me get back into it. I was online. Hold on. We're gonna get this right. I'll never give up. We're gonna get it right. Okay.
But I just wanted to just make it be known that. Okay, there we go.
I just want to because once again, I'm a researcher. I don't want to argue with people. So where can I go in here? You can see my screen. If I put a picture.
All right. If you click on the bottom, it says mute, start cam settings, stop screen, present.
Yeah.
Click present.
It doesn't say. This says Mike, Cam, chat, more, leave. Let's see, more is comment, recording, stream to this audience. That's it. Stream to this audience. Click on that. Stream to this audience. Log in to create an account. Oh,
No, that's the stream onto your audience. It should be a thing called present. You don't see anything on your
down
thing
here
that
it just
says
says it just says more, and more says settings, comments, recording, streaming, stream this to your audience, settings. So, no problem. I was just trying to share. How can I send you? I can email you an image. How about that? Let me try this. Keep
yeah,
talking.
I sent it to you. I sent it to your. I sent it to your. You have my email. Just go ahead and send that. But yeah, so I think that the idea of a giant. I think that we have a certain thing in our mind of a giant, but I think that these people like this, what I'm showing right here, would be considered a giant. If you look from this is an average sized man and he's almost 9 feet tall, that person would be considered a giant.
Dear sister, you look at a mound site called Spiral Mounds in Oklahoma. They call it the King Tut treasure of the Arkansas Valley. One of the things they found there was a body of armor, complete.
Would it be? Was it on one of these things here?
It was made being 8 feet tall. So there are evidence that at least one body of armor. I know I've seen it several times. It's actually when you go to the museum there at Spiral Mound, they talk about it also. So there's evidence of everything being found. Let me go in here and see giants.
It's called Spiral Mounds.
Let me see. I'm gonna see some articles real quick if I can connect. It's called Spiral Mounds. Spiral Oklahoma. And of course, I see things been sanitized. A lot of information has been deleted and erased. How can I attach a picture to this? Send this to you. Come on, man. Excellent. Okay, God, we're gonna get this done here, dear sister. Some cooperation.
Sorry, guys, we're just well,
so we get together, because we're seconds away. Some of these pictures may be it's 8 pictures I'm sending you. You can scan them and read them close to yourself, and then we can continue on this questions about giants and evidence, that kind of stuff there. Let me see here. Okay, I just sent you an email of 8 images.
Like if giants wore sandals, right? That would be somebody or some place that would be making sandals for the giants. You see what I'm saying? And like everything in there would be giant, huge stuff. And it's like, how do you get rid? Huh?
Have you been talking about the copper mines in Upper Michigan Peninsula? Where they found huge tools. They got these huge tools all over the country. Even when you are in Russell, you ever heard of Russell Cave?
Yeah, but I'm saying like even that though, like think about it. If they found a huge tool, then that means you would still need other tools to make that tool. You see what I'm saying? And so
Yes,
it's
sir.
like there should be a plethora of uh just physical evidence of like industry that supported giants.
Okay,
You see
so
what I'm saying?
all right, so there's right now you have okay, what's the biggest shoe you could probably get right now?
Oh, shit, I don't. Yeah, something like that.
You understand? So you think that okay, so I think that you're conflating the size of a giant as like something. If a person's like 9 feet tall and they have a shoe that's like maybe a size 15 or 20 or whatever.
Yeah, but they be talking about like a race of giants, and the race of giants they talking about are not 9 feet tall.
I wear size 15, 16. Come on now.
Yeah, I wear size 15, and that's what I'm saying. Like the giants that they're talking about aren't 9 feet tall giants. They're much taller than that.
They were no, based on what he's saying, based on the archaeological evidence.
Yeah. That's just that one. They found
in this
hundreds.
time frame. Yeah,
They found hundreds of giant bones here.
If you go look at the Biloxi River in Texas, you're gonna find evidence, archaeological evidence, because we'll go by what you see, of dinosaur footprint and giant human footprints. So that's
Mhm.
you on research. It's called the Biloxi River. I think it's near Fort Worth, Texas. I do a lot of research.
I mean,
Those
and it's not
by
I
far
think it's called
fetched.
the Brazos. I think it's called the Brazos River.
It's not far fetched if you think about it, right? Because the Earth was capable of sustaining dinosaurs, which are pretty much gigantic lizards and birds and shit. You see what I'm saying? So
They're
why
extinct, aren't they?
wouldn't it be able to support a large Homo sapien?
So this is
Oh,
what
yeah.
it, when you look it up online,
Yeah.
right? I said archaeological evidence of giants in America. This is what they're saying. So while there are numerous anecdotal accounts and legends and claims of giants in North America, archaeological evidence of their existence is largely unsupported by mainstream science. I don't know why.
Yeah. That's the mainstream narrative. Of course, that's what they're gonna say.
Exactly. That's what they agree on it.
Yeah,
They agree on
that's why I say that's political. Like when you go through Google, when you go through anything that's in the mainstream, that is all political. You know what I'm saying? You gotta go through people that ain't got nothing.
information.
Yeah, you gotta go to people who ain't got nothing invested in their political agendas and ideologies. You see what I'm saying? And that's the like for instance, I'll give you an example, sis. I don't believe in the Big Bang cosmology, right? I follow more of a plasma cosmology, electric universe cosmology,
All
right?
right.
What,
So this is it. Okay, Lovelock Cave, Nevada. Claims of an 8 to 10 foot tall mummies with red hair allegedly linked to the polytheistic legend of the cannibalistic Seatica were found in Lovelock Cave. However, these findings have not been scientifically verified and are often attributed to misidentified or fabricated remains. Then they say the same thing at Catalina Island, California. Race of fair-haired, blue-eyed giants with advanced technology been linked to Catalina Island.
That's fake AI generated stuff. Can you go to the article I sent you? Go to the article I sent you.
Okay, let me see.
Go to check your email. And so instead of this 2020 generated nonsense, let's go back to some actual newspapers. We can go look up go get the microfiche and see the original documentation.
Okay, I don't see the email you sent me. You sent it to Monica.Lockett. Hold on, let me make sure.
I do believe so. Let me go look again. Oh, I just closed that up. Yeah, I just sent it.
I just put my email in the chat. That's my email right there. Because I have been trying to find, because I was like, I know that trust me, I believe that exists. I just, when I tried to look it up, this is what came out to me.
I don't give a damn about no giants, to be honest with you. I think it's an interesting subject though.
But what I'm hearing is giants 8 to 10 foot. It's not going into 25 foot. They're like 8 to 10 foot.
I seen some pictures. I'm sorry.
Yeah, or even let me see. I just sent you pictures.
But for real, I'm more interested in coming up with a strategy on how to make the Black nationalist organizations unite into one organization. That's to me that's the ultimate plan, and it's like if we don't do that, they win. I've been studying their COINTELPRO and all of that bull stuff that they've been using against us, psychological warfare, and all of that stuff is designed to keep us from forming black militant coalitions. They don't want us organized and militant.